Shalom, my friends. It's David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman for the National Public Diplomacy Directorate in the Office of the Prime Minister. If you've got questions, please put them in the chat together with your outlet. I've just got a couple of items to share with you before that. Firstly, on sad news of our fallen soldiers, IDF casualties since the start of this war have unfortunately risen to 731. Sergeant Major in the reserves, Ronnie Ganizut, was aged 36 years old, and from Givat Shmuel, he fell in battle against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon yesterday. We remember the heroes who have fallen in battle in Gaza and in Lebanon and in other sectors as well. Thanks to them, we have turned the enemy back and destroyed most of their capabilities and freed many of our hostages, but we are determined to complete this work. We send a prayer for the well-being of our wounded heroes, as well as being grateful from the depths of our hearts for the heroism and of our fighting men and women in the IDF and the security services. May his memory be a blessing. To Lebanon now, and an update that I wanted to share with you. IDF intelligence has found that Hezbollah is operating out of outposts marked with the logo of the NGO, Green Without Borders. Green Without Borders, as an NGO, is supposedly working to protect Lebanon's environment by planting trees. But unfortunately, just like with UNRWA in bed with Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah terrorists have exploited this environmental NGO as a front for its military activities in southern Lebanon. The IDF today released footage and photographs of Hezbollah tunnels, weapons and military observation posts within Green Without Borders facilities near our border. You can be sure as night follows day, cue the pseudo-outrage from environmental campaigners against Israel. The IDF have carried out targeted operations to dismantle these Hezbollah military assets within Green Without Borders facilities, including weapons and underground infrastructure. Next, on the latest figures of Hezbollah attacks upon this country, rocket fire in our north. 2 Israelis were killed yesterday in Kiryat Shmona, civilians, while out walking their dog. So that gives me the grim task of updating you on casualties in the northern sector from Hezbollah aggression from Lebanon. So these figures are the deaths caused by injuries within Israeli territory itself, not to soldiers killed battling Hezbollah within the territory of Lebanon in the last 2 weeks. 53 Israelis have been murdered by Hezbollah. That's 28 citizens, including an Indian national, and 25 soldiers. As for the wounded by Hezbollah, 441 people have been wounded. That's 165 soldiers and 273 civilians. So from more than 10,000 rockets and missiles launched by Hezbollah on our north, unfortunately 63,500 Israelis have been displaced from their homes. Hezbollah have caused more than 900 fires, burning 197 million square meters of Israel's north. Those are our latest figures. Next, on Iran, the Prime Minister said yesterday that there's only one force in the world which is fighting Iran right now, and that is Israel. He said it's not only our fight, but it's the free world's fight too. Only Israel stands in Iran's way to conquest this country. If we don't fight here, the Prime Minister said, we will die. But it's not only our fight, it's the free world's fight as well, echoing the words which he shared with the United Nations General Assembly just about a week ago. He said what distinguishes Iran from other dictators around the world is that Iran wants to throw us all back to the Dark Ages. They want to destroy us here in Israel, but only on their way to your countries. because we stand here in the way of conquering the Middle East. Now, next, in the last few days alone, Israel has faced stabbing attacks in Hadera, a shooting attack in Beersheba, killing a young border policewoman, and another shooting attack in Jaffa just a week ago, killing 7 Israeli locals and injuring 7 more. My own 16-year-old son came running home, having witnessed people escaping these 2 gunmen in Jaffa here. None of this is sustainable. We know that this is derives from terrorist incitement, which seeks to kill Israelis. And make no mistake, our security forces are on high alert. This terror is the result of incessant incitement from Hamas and Iran. They want more murderous violence, more civilians killed, and another front from which to attack us, but they will not succeed. And lastly, an update from COGAT and their work coordinating aid into Gaza. As you know, we have been giving almost daily updates from this podium, but I wanted to update you particularly on clean drinking water available to Gazans. There are 3 pipelines from Israel and 2 from Egypt, and local desalination plants as well as pumping facilities inside Gaza. In northern Gaza, where 300,000 Gazans reside, they have access to an average of around 175 litres of water per person each and every day. In central Gaza, where 1.8 million Gazans reside, there's an average of 39 litres per person per day available. And in southern Gaza, with 50,000 residents, each person can receive 30 litres of water per day. On our latest figures of aid going into Gaza, since the start of this war, Israel has coordinated over 1,072,000 tons of aid on over 54,000 trucks into Gaza. 80% has been food, but also medical supplies. Children have been vaccinated against polio, but also shelter equipment. And you can get all the details of Israel's humanitarian efforts on COGAT's website. So that's the end of our briefing here today. Please put your questions in the chat together with your outlet, and we will take them from here. First question, let me just see the next question is, first question here is from Silvia Brasca from LA7 Italian Network. UN force accuses Israel of fire on Lebanon HQ, which wounded 2 peacekeepers. What can you explain about that? Thank you for that question, Sylvia. Let me share with you the latest on that. For the latest information, you should always go first. For things like this, you should go immediately to the IDF, because they will have the latest information. I don't have anything specifically about this point, but let me tell you about the UN in general on our northern border. After the last war against Hezbollah in Lebanon, there was a United Nations Resolution 1701. Key to that resolution was the UN deploying a force on our northern border inside southern Lebanon. It's called UNIFIL, and its purpose was to ensure that Hezbollah did not exist between the gap between the Litani River and our southern border. On our northern border, they've never fulfilled that task. UNIFIL have been an abject failure, as evidenced by the more than 10,000 rockets which this country has received from Hezbollah. And it's important to note that there is no border dispute between Israel and Lebanon. The blue line, the United Nations blue line, the border between our 2 countries is precisely where the UN asked us to put that border. Israel withdrew from Lebanon 25 years ago, as our Prime Minister has made clear. So the UNIFIL force there has been an abject failure. And if you want more details of this incident, which you mention here, Sylvia, then I recommend you go straight to the IDF. Next, from Linda Gradstein from the Voice of America. Is there any thoughts of allowing Palestinians to return to work in Israel? And are you concerned about the Palestinian economy collapsing? Thank you for that question, Linda. I haven't got any update for you on that particular question. I can say to you that to this day, to this very moment, 1 year and 2 days on after the October 7th massacre, the Palestinian Authority has not found a single moment to condemn the murderous, terrorist, outrageous attacks of October 7th. They simply have not condemned them. Now, as our ambassador to the United Nations made clear just yesterday on the floor of the United Nations, what are Israelis to think of that? The Palestinian Authority, which Danny Danon said are supposed to be the more progressive, more liberal, the people which we can do business with. What are Israelis to make of that? That the Palestinian Authority has not found one moment in the last 1 year and 2 days to condemn the murderous, barbaric attacks of October 7th. Not one moment. Need I remind you of the terrorism which we faced from this genocidal enemy of Hamas? The murders filmed on GoPro cameras, an Israeli woman, a pregnant woman, having her belly cut open on camera and having the baby pulled out of her stomach and the baby stabbed in front of that mother. Okay, this is the sort of barbarism which we are fighting here. Now, not once has the PA found a moment to condemn these murders, not once. So I think that's very, very important in terms of understanding what Israel's mission is here to destroy the terrorist outrages which happened from Hamas in Gaza, to destroy Hamas as a terrorist organization, both their governing capabilities and their military, to ensure that Gaza can never be a threat to us again, to get our 101 hostages home. That's our priority. They should be set free right now. Let them go right now. The war would be over if two very simple things happened. Hamas laid down their arms and they released our hostages. The war would be over right now, and it would solve that problem, that issue which you shared with us, Linda. And of course, to return our 63,500 Israelis back to their home in northern Israel, which is why we are pushing back Hezbollah. Next, Melanie Lidman from Reuters. Do you have any information about the Israeli American British journalist arrested in Beirut? Has he been deported anywhere? And was Israel involved in any way? Thank you for that question, Mel. We haven't got anything particularly new to add on that particular story. The reports which I've read were that he was found in Lebanon with an Israeli ID, but is also a British citizen and a US citizen. We haven't got anything to add from our end. We haven't got any update on that whatsoever, except for the fact that it is illegal by Israeli law for an Israeli citizen to visit a country which unfortunately we are at war with right now. That's the only thing I can add to that one. Okay, next question is from Linda Gradstein. Can you tell us any more about Israeli plans to retaliate against Iran? Thank you for that question, Linda. Let me share with you what I can share with you. Firstly, on Iran, obviously I won't be sharing our defensive actions against Iran. As you know, last Tuesday we received 101 ballistic missiles against that country to our people, myself and my family, and I think all the 9 or 10 million Israelis living here, including you, I imagine, Linda, were in shelters, sheltering from this largest ballistic missile, I think one of the largest ballistic missiles ever upon another country. So I don't like the word retaliation. I like the word defense, and that's the word Israel prefers, because Israel has both the responsibility and the right to defend itself and to respond to this Iranian aggression. The Prime Minister's made exceedingly clear on a number of occasions. Israel is able to hit every single part of Iran. Not because we have any wish to have any war with the Iranian people. The Iranian people are not our enemies. The Iranian people are victims of the Iranian regime, which subjects them and tries to keep them in the dark ages, with limits on the freedoms of women, with limits on all the sorts of freedoms which we take for granted in civilized, in democratic countries. But it's twice now that Iran has launched hundreds of missiles against this country. I say to you clearly, Linda, that no state in the world would tolerate such an attack against our citizens and our cities. And we know as well that all of this war is because of Iran trying to hold on to power. The Iranian axis of evil, they have declared their intentions to destroy this country, and they're operating towards that end, and they formed a stranglehold against this country. We know who their proxies are. They're Hezbollah in Lebanon, they're Hamas in Gaza, they're the Houthis in Yemen, there are other militias from Iraq as well. So Linda, it's not a state secret to say that we're on high alert here, and we will exact a heavy price for any aggression against this country from any arena. Right now in Lebanon, we are carrying out a focused, limited ground operation, and we are also operating against other terror targets. In Lebanon in particular, adjacent to our border, but we are eliminating the threat which they pose to our towns and to other places in this country, in the north, but also other places as well. Okay, next question here is from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News. The White House readout of the Biden-Netanyahu phone call did not mention any discussion of what to do about potential strike on Iran. Was it discussed, and what can you tell us? Thank you for that question, Joel. Yes, indeed, the Prime Minister and the President spoke yesterday. I will repeat what I said yesterday, that the US and Israel share a healthy and productive relationship between two great nations. Our contacts are very frequent. Our contacts are at every single level of government and society. Our nations are the closest of allies. Our militaries are coordinated. We share the same goals. They're our enemy, Iran, here, but they're also the US enemy as well. And we will certainly keep you posted about any future discussions. Next question from Joel Pollack. There are reports that Israel has taken a more assertive negotiating posture on hostages, and that Israel be willing to end its campaign against Hezbollah in exchange for the release of all the hostages by Hamas. Is there any credibility to these reports? Thank you for that question, Joel. I shared a pretty comprehensive view from Gal Hirsch, our coordinator, Brigadier General Gal Hirsch, our coordinator on the release of the hostages. He shared his views, and I would also encourage you to look at some of the things which Mr. Hirsch has said, which do include some innovative ways forward to get our hostages home. It is a key war aim. It's an open sore in Israeli society. We receive all of us know their names. We know their faces. They need to be brought home right now. The war would end right now if our hostages were set free, and also Hamas would lay down its weapons. So, final question here from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News. Yom Kippur is a time for reflection and improvement. Is there anything Israel should have done differently leading up to or responding to October 7th, 2023, and what would it be? Thank you for that question. Firstly, on Yom Kippur, it is true that it is Yom Kippur on Friday night. It's the Jewish people's Day of Atonement. It's also the day when our country was attacked for the infamous Yom Kippur War, once again taken by surprise. So let me take this opportunity to wish Jewish people who are marking Yom Kippur over this weekend from Friday night and Saturday a Gmar Chatima Tova. That's the first thing I'd like to say. On the other point, there will be time, Joel, to conduct a full and comprehensive inquiry on the failures which took place, which allowed the horrendous terrorist attack of October 7th and subsequently. There will be time for a full discussion. The Prime Minister has made that crystal clear. Right now, we're fighting to defeat this enemy, these Iranian-backed proxies. We're fighting to defeat them. And I tell you, Joel, you can be absolutely sure, as the Prime Minister said, we are winning. We have done things which, as the Prime Minister said, that you have seen, but you have not seen yet. And Minister Gallant, our Defence Minister, also made that crystal clear just yesterday. We're able to defend ourselves. Gone are the days when Jewish people ran for cover without an ability to defend ourselves. We have a state, and we have an army, and we have a duty to defend ourselves, and that is precisely what we are doing. And when this war is won, which it will be, just look at the evidence of the decapitated Hezbollah terrorist army. We have, killing the Nasrallah, thought to be impossible. You could never find him in his bunker, eliminated. His successor, as the Prime Minister said, their successor, and the successor after that as well, all eliminated. The leadership of Hezbollah, this most organized, the most well-armed terrorist organization in the entire globe, eliminated. We are taking our battle to them, and we are winning. And there will be time for the investigation, and it will happen as has happened in the past. But I've got nothing to add on that particular issue right now. Okay, are there any more questions? I think I've taken all the questions. Have I? Just scroll up to the top. No, just scroll up to the top. Nothing more. Okay, so that's all the questions. So in the meantime, thank you for joining us. Gmar Chatima Tova again for people who are commemorating Yom Kippur on Friday night and Saturday. And please join us for the next briefing, which is likely to be next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.